also, on your way to wealth, you got to be willing to walk alone sometimes.
Amen.
You got to be willing.
You
got to be willing to walk alone sometimes, because
Amen.
everyone doesn't fit on your journey at every part of your journey. And there's parts of your vision that no one else will get. And when no one else gets your vision, remind yourself, no one else gets your vision because God didn't give your vision to them. God gave your vision to you. And that's all you got to know. And it's your job to be the midwife, the birthing agent. It's your job to be the nursing station. It's your job to be the doctor, the delivery doctor, to bring that vision out so the world can see it. That's your job. No one has to see it or get it while it's here. It's your job to birth it. It's your job to give it arms. It's your job to give it oxygen. And it's your job to be patient enough to know that it won't happen overnight. Just like a child. When a baby is threatening to be born in 5 months, the doctor says, hold on, bed rest. The lungs aren't developed. Hold on, bed rest. The heart isn't strong enough. Hold on, bed rest. The muscles aren't. Same thing about your dream. So when you get impatient about your dream, it's only because you're comparing your dream and your journey to somebody else's journey.
Yes.
It's only because. And Benjamin Franklin says comparison is and will always be the thief of all your joy.
Wow.
And so don't look left. Don't look left. Don't look right. Just look straight ahead. People always say, Lisa, how'd you do it? I wasn't looking left and right. I wasn't keeping notes on what Tony was doing or what Jack was doing. I love them, but I'm busy. I'm busy building my dreams. I'll stop and have dinner with you. I'll stop and bump elbows with you, but I'm not going to compare my life, my joy, my success, and what's my divine right to yours. Nor am I going to minimize my light or my brightness for anyone as well.
I love that.
So the other thing in going to wealth is you got to let your entire light shine.
The people you're surrounded by matters. Your environment right now, the people you hang out with, it's all been perfectly designed to keep you stuck, to keep you small, to keep you where you are, to keep your growth curve slow. You know, we have these negative voices in our heads, but somebody put those voices in your head. You telling yourself that you suck and you can't do it, that's not your voice. You know, when you're born, everything is possible. Think about it, even when you were a kid, your dreams, your goals, what you wanted to be, what you wanted to do. I remember I wanted to be a baseball player in the summer and then be a fireman or a police officer in the winter, in the off season. And think about what happens to those dreams. Now, some of them might have been we've outgrown them. You know, why do I want to be a police officer? Maybe because I saw a police officer on the street or something. But some of them we outgrow, but a lot of times we just also not just outgrow the idea of it, but it gets knocked out of us. You know, that sense of hope and potential and what we can do and where we can go and what we can learn and who we can be, it gets knocked out of us. By our parents, by our teachers, by the people around us, by society, by school, it gets knocked out of us. And that is not good. You know, it sucks. Your environment has been perfectly designed to keep you stuck, to keep you safe, and to keep you small, but that is not your voice. That is not your voice. And so part of the work is finding your voice and being willing to go down the path that nobody else is going down. One of the reasons why entrepreneurship is so hard is that people feel that they're stuck. Have you felt stuck? Have you felt like you're the only one who's doing what you're doing? Do you feel like nobody understands you? Nobody gets you? Nobody supports you? Nobody's here to tell you what you can do in a loving way forward? Nobody is as optimistic or as hopeful or as ambitious as you. And it's not that those people don't exist, it's just not in your environment. And it's easy to stay being that big fish in a small pond, you know? It's easy to stay stuck being the person who's constantly pouring and loving and caring and giving into others. But at what point do you decide that you need more for yourself as well? Because when you can be around people who are doing bigger things that push you, that make you see things are possible in a whole new way, it just changes everything. When I got started as an entrepreneur, I had business partners, so that was really helpful. But apart from that, I isolated myself. I didn't see my friends. I had no money. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was alone, which made it really difficult for me to wake up every day and go do the thing that I wanted to do, and just took its toll on my self-worth and self-esteem, you know, that this isn't working. I poured so much energy and love and heart into, and it's just not working out. And one of the things that helped was getting a mentor. And over the years, I've had a bunch of mentors who've helped me with different things, and I've realized in that process that I'm not a dummy, that I'm not stupid, and that when I have somebody to guide me and help me, and when I'm around other people who are going through similar things, it helps lift me up. And you'll have moments where you'll have people who are way ahead of you, but it's not only the people who are way ahead of you. You know, just being around people who are happy. How many of the people around you are happy and optimistic and positive? Just being around people who are ambitious and going after their dream, just being around those people starts to change things. So let me share 2 examples. One, if we're looking at pointing up, learning from somebody who's done a lot more than us. I recently came back from Phoenix, Arizona. I was speaking at a couple events. In one of the groups, you had to pay $100,000 to be in. It's a pretty high level group, pretty impressive people. And on the last day, I had coffee with one of the members at his home. And calling it a home is an understatement. It's like 4 homes in 1 home. It's a compound. And this guy had just sold his business for over $200 million. And hanging with him and seeing how he reacted to things and getting some feedback on my business, I came away not just with ideas on what to do, but just inspiration and motivation and excitement and energy. It's like, wow, this guy's just playing at a whole other level. And coming home, it's like, I'm on the airplane, I'm on fire, you know, let's get to work. Let's start building the empire. Let's start having a bigger impact and reaching even more people. But it's not every day that you can kind of go hang out with people who sold a business for $200 million, right? Like, oh, that's easy for you. You know, you met that person. What am I supposed to do? So you find peers, you find communities, you find clubs. And that's why I created Movement Makers, which is awesome. And every 2 weeks we meet and connect, and I'm helping thought leaders who are on the way up build their content, build their movement, get their message out to the world. And the biggest part of it is, I think, not being able to learn from me and hang out, but being able to be with other people who are doing something similar. That we do challenges where people are making content together and going live together. And the amount of times people have come in and have never gone live or are afraid to make their first video, and then somebody says, hey, I'll help do it with you. Let's go live together. It makes such a difference. Who's doing that for you? Who's taking your ideas and saying, hey, let's go do that together. I'll help you. And so joining some kind of community. And they don't have to be people who are way far ahead of you. You know, you may not be connecting with a $200 million entrepreneur, but just people who are on the same path, who are lifting others up, who are pouring into you, who are ambitious as well. Just being around them makes a huge difference. An entrepreneur I invested into, Alex, has been struggling with not having entrepreneur friends and connections and being the lonely entrepreneur. So I said, just go join some entrepreneur events, go to some entrepreneur meetups, and go to conferences that are happening in the city. And he just recently went to one. And I said, listen, your goal here is not to learn from the speakers. You won't be impressed by the speakers. You already know most of the content. Your goal is for the energy and connection. Your goal should be to talk to 25 people each day. There are 2 days, so go talk to 50 people. And then out of that, to be able to have a connection with a couple people that you want to follow up with. And so, tomorrow he's going downtown to meet one of the entrepreneurs that he met at the event. That's much more powerful than learning, because he knows all the content. He consumes my content. He watches the videos. He's a learner. The point of going there is not to learn from the speakers. The point is to go and meet and connect with other people. And so join some kind of community for whatever the thing is that you're trying to do, so that you're willing to walk alone, but hopefully you don't have to. And then last but not least, I'd suggest just consuming content. It's what really helped me. It still helps me. If I'm learning from Elon Musk or Oprah Winfrey or whoever it is, feature their videos. Sometimes if I wake up and the energy's not there, I'll go for a morning walk, which always helps. And then I'll feed my mind with the video from something on my own channel. I still make the videos for me because I want them and I need them. every day as a reminder to think bigger, to play a bigger game, that what I'm doing is possible, that it can happen, that others have proved it, and that I just need to believe more. It is scary and hard to run your own race. And a lot of people will doubt you along the way and tell you that it's not possible, even if it's in a loving way, it's not possible, that you can't do it. And we often then lead to doubt in ourselves. And that voice comes in and says that we can't do it. And so the answer is to start to shift the environment, to start to eliminate the people who are creating those negative thoughts around us, to start to try to get some mentors to help teach and learn, to try to join a community of people who are just as ambitious as we are, trying to accomplish great things, and to be around the content of people who inspire us to want to go off and be amazing. You can do that. Your environment's been perfectly designed to keep you where you are, but you don't have to stay stuck where you are. Where you are at the end of the life doesn't have to be where you are right now. The difference is going to be how much you're changing up the environment and the people you're hanging out with.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Step number 5. You want to take the techniques, the previous 4 techniques that I've given you, and if you're in any one of my courses, it's actually 17 techniques, and you want to make it sound like a symphony. And the reason why this is a step is because most people look at techniques and look at things they do very fragmented. Well, I'm going to say, and I like to call it 2 things. One, make it sound like a symphony, meaning you want your message to blend together. Think of it as if you were writing a song, because a message should be rhythmic. It should be like a song. It should have this cadence to it. It should have this alliteration to it. It should have this flow to it. It has this opening. It has this middle, this arc, and it has this ending. And it all comes together, right? That's the symphony. That's the sound. That's the band. The other way you can look at it is you want to take your individual ingredients and then you want to layer them together like lasagna. And you want to put them on. Lasagna is actually not one of the easiest dishes to make because it's about individual mastery of the particular taste and the particular seasonings. And then it's also about layering it in such a way that it meshes together and comes out in one form. That's how a great message is. You take the techniques, audience connection. You take the techniques, ending with a fire, not a fizzle. You take the techniques, understanding what's in it for your audience. You take the techniques, verbal highlights. And you do all these techniques and then you go, how do I layer them? Content and story and opening and close. Yeah, again, I say, this ain't elementary. This is MBA, right? So it takes a minute. But if you've implemented the first 4 steps, then you have delicious content. You understand what a soul-stirring story looks like because I taught you the valley. You understand the crescendo and a close. Now it's time for you as the conductor, or like my son Jelani, as the head chef, as he is a chef of all times. Now you want to put the dish together, or as the conductor, you want to create a beautiful symphony of words. Yeah, I know when you think of it that way, it's like, well, Lisa, it's just a message. No, it's not. It's life for someone who's listening. It's life for someone who needs your words. So take the time and create a symphony of oration. Create a symphony of possibility. Create a symphony of energy. Because when you speak, and you speak possibility, you speak education, you speak motivation, you're speaking life. Step 3 is about designing your powerful close. So most people end with a fizzle. And I'm going to say one of the major foundations to a powerful message is to end with fire, like fire. So end with fire, not a fizzle. Speakers often overlook and dismiss the close because they're so committed to the content and they think, oh, it's the end. No, like think about it when you're at a concert. When you're at a concert and like you're with like a mega artist, like if it were Prince or Tina Turner or Janet Jackson or Beyonce or Mary J. Blige, or if you're with Kenny G, or you have a concert, a major concert. They don't end with the fizzle. They don't end with the song that no one knew, that didn't go gold or didn't hit a major status, or that you can't sing along with. They crescendo. And they may go down and give you some of the, ones that are more mediocre in the middle. But at the end, they come out and do the encore even. And the encore is always something that gets everyone to sing along. It's an encore that it's fire. That's exactly how your message needs to be. So let me let you in on the secret sauce. Like a lot of things that I love to do now is really taking you behind the black curtain on powerful speeches, behind the black curtain on becoming unforgettable when you open your mouth or when you present in front of people. Your close, here it is. You ready for it? You ready for it? Your close is so important. It's the audience's last impression of you. And most people go height, and down and by. I've witnessed so many times great speeches that kept me engaged and kept me excited until the end. Every time this happens, I'm screaming inside my head, no, please. Don't make your last impression a fizzle. You need to have content and you need to have stories. Now, the number of stories that you offer in your message has a lot to do with how much time you have, because you always want to give your audience of one or of many, online, virtual, or live, you want to give them enough content to walk away with value. However, it's super important that you give them enough story to walk away with a connection. So what normally happens, some of the best speakers that are out there today, best presenters, they are only doing one or the other. They fall flat in one of those areas. They're either all story and you don't have enough content to write down, or they're all content. That's pretty much the majority of people. They're all content. And there's very few opportunities to make a connection. So why do you deliver content? You deliver content because it's the intellectual learning that you're going to teach your audience, right? Whether it's new concepts, it's the theory that provides your audience with the insight to move forward. Content is the steps, the how-to. Content is where they choose to follow you as an expert, as a coach, as a leader, because you have insight on neuro-linguistic programming, behavior management, media, marketing. You got that content on personal perseverance and transformation. You are the content provider for that particular body of work, meaning your intellectual property will help move them forward in their life in that area. Super, super important. Now I want you to put that by itself. That's important. The mistake most speakers make, most presenters make, is that they give you all of that. Well, I walk away with value, but you miss a huge part of me. Now, where is that? That's from the story. So the story is that experience that you share that grounds the content and makes it real. Now, you don't have to necessarily point to the content. You're just sharing a story about a time in your life, and that story just gives context. It gives 3D. It gives texture, what I like to call it, to what you're talking about, to the content. It brings the content to life in a moment. Let me give you an example. Well, the story is what allows the audience to see themselves in you. The story is what creates the vibration, the energy exchange. Remember, content doesn't create an energy exchange. Content creates an intellectual exchange. You want an energy exchange. Why? Content will have people respect you. Stories will have people become loyal to you. This is about step 4. This one is huge for connecting with your audience and keeping them interested and engaged. Now, so many times I see speakers or presenters speaking, and they're not checking in with their audience to even see if they're listening anymore. And as a result, people are on their phones or they're doing whatever, they're multitasking. You want to keep your audience absolutely engaged. So let me give you some techniques. You want to identify your audience's drivers. You want to know these things before you even open your mouth. Like, you want to know what makes your audience tick. What gets them excited? What gets them into action? What's super important to them? What's the WIIFM? What's in it for me? But in this case, what's in it for them? What drives them? What motivates them? This step is beyond customizing your speech, which is what I mentioned in a previous show. This is really understanding the psychographic of your audience. Whether you're on social media, that's an audience. Whether you're teaching a class, that's an audience. Whether you're talking to one individual, that's an audience. So you have to ask yourself, what's the red button for this particular group of individuals? When I speak to mothers, I recognize that a mother's job is to make her children feel safe. A mother's job is to make them feel loved. A mother also feels overwhelmed. She's also the multitasker of all times. She also needs rest. And she wants to be acknowledged. Many times she's under-acknowledged. I know that. I know that before I start talking to the moms, or even when I'm talking to an audience and I say, if you are a mother, then, and I begin to go into the things that I know is important to a mother. If I'm speaking to a group of speakers or entrepreneurs, then I know it's about several things. It's about impact. You want your voice to be heard. You also want to know that your voice is powerful. You want to know that your message is being received. You also want to monetize your message. So it's not just about speaking, it's also about the business. If I'm speaking to teens during our Motivating the Teen Spirit events, then as a teen, I go, okay, so teens are not making a lot of decisions in their lives for themselves. Decisions are being made around them. They want to own their voice. They want to hear their own voice. They're tired of rules. So in the Motivating the Teen Spirit, when I'm talking to teens, I say, here are no rules. They go, what? In this space, we just make agreements together. Man, they perk up as soon as I do that because they're not used to that. So to that point, you want to make sure that you understand what the needs and the desires and what motivates the audience that you're speaking to before you even open your mouth. You don't want to just speak to what's important to you. You want to speak to what's important to them. And what are those hot buttons? What are those red buttons that will make them go, whoop, whoop? Let me listen a little closer. This part of the process may sound like a lot of work, but it's worth it because it can turn a speech, a message into an experience. Customize your content for each event. I cannot tell you how many times I see speakers and orators and teachers and whoever, and they have a really great message. But with each new audience they go to, 90% of the message is the same. I got to be honest with you. Some of the people that I know in the industry, some of my friends, they do it. And I love them and I love their heart. But I truly believe that the audience is paying for the lack of energy. Let me just say, lazy. The audience is paying because you're being lazy. Customize your message for your audience. Who are they? How are they different? And even if it's the same demographic, so they're still women and they're still entrepreneurs, but are we in a different time? I dare not deliver the exact same message this year to the same demographic that I delivered in 2019. Why? Too much has happened. She, he, they are in a totally new place. So you want to make sure that your message addresses your audience. Now, let me just tell you something. I saw a very powerful speaker. I will not mention his name. I saw a very powerful speaker be so sure that he can move the audience that when he was speaking to his audience, he actually went in a direction that this audience wasn't interested in. But it's where his speech was. And it was a great speech. Great speech for another audience. And he was on autopilot. So I want you to think about it this way. You don't talk to everyone in your life the same way. You know, if you were talking to a 3-year-old, you have a 3-year-old's conversation. If you were talking to a 15-year-old, you have a 15-year-old's conversation to relate to them. And if you were talking to a 55-year-old, or let's just look at me because that's where I happen to be right now in my life, you would speak to me differently. And so you don't speak to your partner the way you would speak to your boss, the way you would speak to your children, the way you would speak to your friend. You talk to them in a way that fits the relationship that you're in with them. Your audience is the exact same way. Taking the time to customize your message. You can be talking about the same content, same technique. I teach about speaking all the time, but I'm always saying, am I talking to a corporate employee? Am I talking to a corporate exec? Am I talking to an entrepreneur? Am I speaking to a teenager? Same content, but I apply the message so that it fits the audience. This allows the audience to feel as if you've customized something for them and they have a more intimate connection to you. You may ask, how do you customize? How do you customize, Lisa, a message for your audience? How do you know what the audience needs? That's what I would be asking me right now. How do I know what the audience needs? Ask questions. Write this down. Your listeners or your customers are the experts. Say that. My customers are the experts. My students are the experts. The next line, I am the service provider. Oh, when I got that years ago, that my customers, my audience, my students, you're the expert. You're the expert of your journey because you know what you need more than I do. You're the expert on what you need. I'm the service provider. So the best thing you could do is ask questions. What matters to you most these days? What problem are you working to solve? What's keeping you up at night? What area would you love to grow in? What's your pain point? What are the 10 things that you're tolerating right now? They're not screaming loud enough to make you change them, but they're screaming loud enough to annoy you. Like, ask those questions. Collect the data. Put it in your back pocket. And as you're creating content and as you're creating programs, create programs and content that speaks to what your audience has already shared with you. Your belief systems were handed to you by your parents and by your grandparents, and they were pretty much embedded by the time you were 10 years old. So there's some beliefs that you didn't even have a chance to develop for your own. You just are living them out.
You inherited them.
You inherit the belief system and didn't unconsciously inherited them. And so the good news is you get to choose to the belief systems you like, and then you get to divorce. I'm going to say divorce because that's a strong word. We all know what separation looks like when you say divorce. You get to divorce from a belief system that doesn't serve you any longer. A belief system that says money is the root of all evil, maybe, or a belief system that says only rich people have money, or all rich people are crooks, or my belief system used to be that wealthy people aren't spiritual. That if I'm wealthy, I can't be a spiritual person.
You have to pick God or money.
One or the other. I got to pick my faith or my finances. I can't have both. That's a belief system. And I invite you to divorce it because it's not the case. I have both. And I live in both quite well. I use my money for good in the world. And the more money you have, the more good you'll do if you're a good person. So money makes you more of who you are. So you will only be more of who you are with money. When we talk about setting healthy boundaries, again, and I know it sounds as if I keep going back to the same thing, but setting healthy boundaries is not about you keeping other people out. If someone crosses your line in the sand, it's because you never made your line deep enough. No one can ever go further with you than you've given them permission to go. So as hard and as difficult as it is to hear, because this was hard for me to hear when I had to admit it to myself, that the way people treated me was based on how I trained them to treat me. So I have to say it to you. You've trained people to treat you the way they're treating you. So if people are crossing your boundaries because they didn't know it was there. If people call you at odd hours of night, it's because you keep answering. If people ask you to do beyond what you're able to do, it's because you keep saying yes. If people don't ever think you need rest, it's because you act like you don't need rest. I know this is not probably what you want to hear, but I signed up and you signed up in this relationship to give you what you need to hear, not necessarily what's always easy to hear. And I'm only telling you what I needed to hear myself. I'm only telling you the lesson that I had to learn, that we train people how to treat us. Acknowledge your community. See, when you celebrate the people around you that bring you joy or that teach you some of the hardest lessons that you need to learn, the iron that sharpens the iron, the celebrators that celebrate you, those who hold the space for you and with you, pray for you, honor you. When you celebrate and lift them up, the whole tide rises. So I want you to find 6 people in your community, not out of obligation, but truly out of choice. They can be in your circle, in your family, in your business circle. And I want you to acknowledge them for the contribution that they bring to your life. What I love about acknowledgement is that when you acknowledge other people, it actually makes you happier. It's just this amazing gift of giving. And what I love is that most people would rather get an acknowledgement from you than a physical gift. That means they don't necessarily need the perfume, they don't need the sweater, they don't need the new iPhone, whatever. They want you to look at them in their eyes and say, you bring value to my life. I honor you, I celebrate you, I appreciate you. Take time to have a personal moment with them where you're just seeing them. The number one reason why people feel sad and disconnected is because they say they don't feel seen. So in this acknowledgement, I want you to look into their eyes and acknowledge them for who they are and how they make your life better. When you raise the community around you, the entire tide rises, the energy rises, the joy rises, the expectation rises. And guess what? If you make this a part of your weekly habits with them, I didn't say daily, I didn't say monthly either, and I definitely didn't say annually. But if you make this a part of your weekly, find one thing to acknowledge at least 6 people in your community for each week. One, you'll feel much more excited. But all of a sudden there's a vibration that happens because you've created it. There's this energy of let's go do this, because what gets celebrated gets repeated. You want someone to repeatedly do something wonderful and amazing in your life, you repeatedly acknowledge them from a genuine place. Man, it's so powerful when you truly marry yourself to the acknowledgement process, to the practice of acknowledgement. When you get into the practice of acknowledgement, all of a sudden people will mirror back to you. You don't acknowledge to get it back. You acknowledge because you want people to be seen. But there's just this dance that begins to occur that's absolutely delicious. I'll try says I'll make a feeble attempt. I will is absolute, non-negotiable, no matter what. There's a certain energy that goes forth when you say I'll try, and there's a different energy that goes forth when you say I will. When you make the declaration of I will, that says mountain, if you are there, you must move. I'll try says I hope I got enough energy to make it up or around the mountain, and if not, I'm gonna sit at the bottom of the hill. When you fail to make a plan, okay, well, hold on. This might hit you between the eyes. You know I love you. But when you fail to make a clear, concrete plan that has goals and milestones, meaning they're smaller goals that you can hit to get to the bigger goal, and has a by-when date, not in February, not in August, but August 15th by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, when I set a goal, I even want to know the time zone I'm gonna have it done by. Clarity. When you fail to make a plan with clear distinction, when you fail to make a clear plan, you have clearly planned to fail. I'll say it again. When you fail to make a clear plan, then you've clearly planned to fail. I know that hits you hard. I've done it many a times. I have clearly planned to fail many a times because I had an idea and it was just in my unconscious. I didn't know. Now I want to bring to you what I know to you so you know it. I want you to make a clear plan. When you create a clear plan, then you're clearly planning to succeed. Every relationship is a relay. It's like my dad's played tennis for over 40 years and I've attempted to play with him at times. And what I realize is that relationships are like a tennis match. I hit the ball to you, you hit the ball back. And a relationship where you think it's only about one person, that's not tennis, that's racquetball, right? But a relationship is a tennis match. And so if a relationship is working, it's because of the way we both are engaging. If it's truly working. And if it's not working, It's the way we both are engaging. And so there could be passive engagement and there could be active engagement. So when you're not speaking up for what you want, when you're holding and you're living with a bunch of withholds, that's engagement. That's just the way you're engaging. So every relationship has two parts, whether your part is active or your part is passive. Every relationship has engagement, a level of engagement, and that engagement is on different levels. If you find that the relationships around you have toxic outcomes, then I want you to look at where's the breakdown. Is the breakdown in communication? Is the breakdown in how you communicate, the words you're using? Is the breakdown in who you choose to be around? Is the breakdown in the engagement of what you're talking about? What I've learned is that if you're not talking about things that are high enough and big enough, things that are inspiring enough, you will slip into the smallness every single time. If you don't choose an intentionally high, evolving, encouraging conversation, you will slip into the cracks. You will slip into those crevices of smallness and petty. And until you get people trained that you're going to live up here without telling them, I need you to know, it's not an announcement. It's a way of being. It's a what do you choose to participate in? It's a stepping over your desire to hear smallness, gossip, negative feedback. It's when someone is engaging in negative feedback about someone else, the fact that you didn't add anything to the conversation doesn't let you off the hook. Did you stop the conversation? Did you say, hold on, I don't want to engage in speaking negatively of them at all. Why don't you have a conversation with them? It's course correcting behaviors in your space at the risk of losing the relationship. But what you basically do is you say, here's where I play. Here is where I live. I'm not visiting this high road of integrity. I'm not visiting this high road of conscious thinking and awareness and respect and humility and honoring the dignity in people. I don't visit this place. I live here. I don't visit this place. I live here. And in a loving way, anyone that's engaging with you has two choices. They either engage with you here or they choose to engage with someone else. Now, if you find that you're going down to be in the relationship, or you're going down and you're the person taking the relationship down because you're in a moment of anger, or you're in a moment of resentment, or you're in a moment of hurt, then you're not living in your highest integrity. You just visit every now and again when you come to this channel. Uh-oh, I see my Shantae coming out right now. Shantae is my middle name. It's what I do when I start getting real edgy because I really want you to get it. So you need to make a decision on where you choose to reside. And then you don't leave your conscious neighborhood to go visit other people's neighborhood if it's not as high as yours. People will rise to the occasion, or they'll choose not to rise, and they'll pick other people to be with and hang with. And I know that sounds easier said than done, because some of the people who are playing at a lower level might be in family. It might be, and that's fine too. You can love people. It doesn't mean you have to spend tons and tons and tons of time if that time costs you something. Spend as much time as you can. Spend as much time as serves you. Spend as much time as they will allow you to spend. But never leave this place. Even if being with them causes you to allow them to be where they are, you don't have to engage in that. So the bottom line in supporting you to either recognize, are you the toxic element, or are you surrounding yourself in toxic element, is to make a commitment where you live. Where am I living? And first own where you're currently living. Because if you own it, you might go, you know what, I do slip into that small place. Okay, own it. That's conscious awareness. That's powerful. Own it. And then go, where do I want to be? And then what's the distance between here and there? And what do I have to do to get there? What do I have to say no to? What do I have to participate in? What do I have to ask forgiveness for? What do I have to clean up? What relationships require cleaning up? And then what declarations must I make? And what decisions must I live in? Don't make a decision, live in your decision.
Did you consciously sit down and say, I want to manifest inspiring millions of people, making millions of dollars. Was it a conscious thing? Were there moments where you sat there when you weren't living in that reality, where you said, you know what, I'm going to decide, I'm going to figure it out. I might not know how, I might not know where or what, but I'm going to commit to it and make it a reality. I mean, talk to me at the core of your experience.
Right. So I love how you say make millions of dollars. I said I want to inspire people, and I want to be able to pay my bills. That was initially.
That was a big dream.
I want to run out a month before I run out of money. Big. I want to have enough. That like, you can't think about having abundance until you literally give yourself permission to have enough.
Yeah, get past scarcity to begin with.
So I want to have enough to dream. And so my first, I think I have a ministry mindset. My first, I just want to help people. I want to help people and I want to be rewarded for my efforts, right? And then once I got past that, I said, okay, I want more. I want to generate millions. I want to serve millions, inspire millions, and generate millions. I think I deserve all of that. But that had to do with my self-worth.
Right.
I had to feel worthy to touch millions. And I had to feel worthy to touch millions. I had to feel worthy of both. And so that was personal development, which is why I live and I stay in personal development. I teach personal development. I teach wealth development, I teach business development, and I teach personal development.
I love
because
that.
you have to have both. I'm only telling you the lesson that I had to learn, that we train people how to treat us. In 2007, when I was on the Oprah show, it was the thing that came up and out of me. And she was like, yes, it was that thing that said, we train people how to treat us. Like, they're looking at what we're saying yes to and what we're co-signing on. And if we're the yes woman or the yes man all the time, then one, our yes isn't as valuable because everyone automatically expects it because we give it away all the time. And two, they're going to keep asking because they know they're going to get yes. And if you're a producer and deliverer, you're the one I'm going to come to all the time because you're a producer and deliverer. You're going to get the job done, even to the detriment of your own joy. Even to the detriment of your own happiness. But again, you train people how to treat you. But the good news about training someone is that they can be retrained. Practice active. Yes, I'm going to say it again. Underline, circle active. Practice active self-care. That's where you identified what rejuvenates you and made plans to make time for self-care during the busy season. So you made a list of what you know rejuvenates your soul, your mind, your body, your spirit, from walking on the beach to reading a book to taking downtime, free things and retreats or a spa, whatever it is that rejuvenates your soul, to make a list of it and then to make plans, active self-care, to do those things during your busy season. To the conversation about money and wealth, it's one, being willing to release a familiar now for an unfamiliar future. Now that's easier said than done,
yes.
And it's bigger than it sounds. Are you willing to have your future look unfamiliar and in some cases look around and you don't recognize anything? Are you willing? Are you so tied to the comfort of what you know, even in its discomfort? So I was willing to reinvent myself 1,000 times. Are you willing to reinvent yourself? Are you willing to introduce yourself to the new version of you?
Yes.
Are you willing to go places you wouldn't go and do things that you traditionally wouldn't do? See, I wasn't traditionally in meditation or in visualization or hanging around older white men, or like I had 1,000 things that I didn't do traditionally. See, it's very difficult to speak phenomenally and to not be good. Come on, y'all from yesterday. Not be great, but to be what? Unfreaking forgettable. It's difficult to be unforgettable while you're still trying to look good. You can't do two things. That's chasing two rabbits. See, unforgettable has everything to do with serving at a level so high, so big, so massive that people feel like they have to change their lives because they crossed your path. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. See, when you're willing to use your voice, first you have to recognize that you have one. You got to recognize that no matter your past, you were given a voice, and your voice was given not to keep to yourself. Your voice is not a secret.
says the secret teacher. And you have to be willing to use every experience that's ever happened in your life, not as a fortress holding you from using your voice, but as the fuel on why you will use your voice. You got to be willing to not stand in your story, but stand on your story. Yes, yes. It's not in spite of your past that you get to be amazing, that you get to be a change agent, that you get to transform lives. It's because of your past that you're perfect for such a job. When you own it like that, see, there's no question in my certainty about my life. Can you walk with that level of certainty so that when the wind comes and then when the wind blows, and it will come and it will blow and it will be a storm and it will be a tornado and it will look like divorce and it will look like bankruptcy and it will look like an illness and it will look like a loss. When it comes, it will rock you. It will rock you. It will rock you, but it won't move you.
The Oprah team had heard some of my backstory. And they said, can we send a camera crew, much like this wonderful camera crew?
Yes.
Not nearly as good looking. And can we send a camera crew to capture your story? And so I shared my story. And I mean, I dumped. And I shared the ugly. And right after the interview, I regretted it. Because I didn't think I could be the secret teacher, the expert, and have that kind of ugly out there in the world. I didn't know. I didn't know that the world would love me for what I've come through. I thought that they would consider me an imposter in the secret. And so I shared all this junk. 2 weeks later, I'm on my way to Oprah to do the actual recording, and I know I know the video. So the night before, I'm packing and I'm crying. I'm like, oh, it's over tomorrow. It's all over.
I'm gonna go embarrass myself on Oprah.
It's the fastest career up and down anyone's ever seen. Lisa Nichols will be the secret.
Yes.
Right. So, I'm just sad. I'm scared, and I call a friend of mine at 4:15 in the morning because I stayed up all night.
Of course, yeah. How are you gonna sleep before that?
Yeah, right. And I said, I they don't know my junk and the video, and it's over. And he said, look, can I pray for you, Lisa? And I was like, sure. My friend says, God, thank you for using your imperfect child to help your imperfect children. I went to Oprah the next day, and as the chatter kept going in my head, leading up to the moment when they play this video, I'm like, it's okay. I'm enough. I'm enough with all my mess. I'm enough. And the chatter kept, nope, they're going to find out. They're going to find out your son's father is in jail. They're going to find out. And I thought, no, they're not going to find out, because I'm going to tell them. Because there's power in transparency. There's power in authenticity. There's power in truth. That I'm going to speak life into someone else because they're going to see who I am because of that, in spite of that, with that. And so then the after show came. So after the regular Oprah show, the after show. And man, I cracked open on the after show. And within 72 hours, talk about the power of transparency and authenticity. Within 72 hours, I received 8,782 emails. And my email wasn't even Lisa Nichols. It wasn't even easy to find. And my website wasn't Lisa Nichols.
Yeah.
People searching for me.
Whatever it took.
Because of the truth. And so I had the imposter syndrome then. I've had it since then. People told me, oh my God, you're the answer. And I'm searching for my own answers.
When we talk about living our quest, I think that living my quest, really, if I look at it on a daily basis, it's finding my own voice. It's finding your voice. It's finding the song that only you can sing, off key or not. It's finding your rhythm. It's discovering what it feels like to walk in your shoes today. It won't look like it looked 10 years ago. Living your quest is, what can I do with my life so that my life becomes infectious to someone else? Living my quest looks like, how do I make my fingerprint matter so big that it lives beyond my transition day? Living your quest is, how can I forgive the perceivingly unforgivable, so I can love the absolute lovable. Living your quest is how do I give myself 1,000 second chances, and every time I get to 999, press reset. Yeah. Living my quest is not some ambiguous, untouchable experience. Living my quest means going back and healing the little girl in me so that the woman can be free. It's going back and embracing the little boy in you so that the man can show up and give himself permission to cry when necessary. Living your quest is not something that you can't touch. It's not something that requires a stage or lights or cameras. Living your quest is being completely content with who you are in the dark of the night. So who you are in the middle of the day is all right. Living your quest is as simple as it is complex. Living your quest is about giving yourself permission, say permission, on a daily basis to become the next best version of yourself. Living your quest is not holding yourself hostage to old decisions, not holding yourself hostage to shame, blame, guilt, regret, and anger. Living your quest is about recognizing that every day I can be reborn to my possibility.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.